Welcome to the Disney Reporter. I'm Mr. DAPS, and I am with Katie about 40 minutes after the end of Frozen 2, and we are attempting to live stream from my phone with not all the technology we would normally have. Hey,
sound
but
great.
You can hear us, and we sound okay, so that is a win. I'm going to move it over just a little bit because I'm sitting in a weird place on the desk. But
on the desk.
We just got behind the desk. We just got done with Frozen 2 on opening night.
Too Frozen,
kind
too
of
furious.
Open a little bit. Opening night a little bit earlier. I don't know.
It wasn't midnight.
It was not midnight.
We saw it at 9:30.
Which I kind of miss the old midnight showings, but they
Back
were a lot
in my
harder
day.
to do reviews than the 9:30 shows.
I do feel like the progression from midnight to like 6 p.m. happened so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw most of the Harry Potter films for midnight premieres.
Oh, totally. And Star Wars too.
Yeah, well,
The old Star Wars.
I didn't.
Yeah.
But even Deathly Hallows Part 2 was only midnight.
But they don't care about that. What they
I
do
know.
care about
Frozen
is
2.
what we thought about Frozen 2. So, Frozen 2 takes place actually in a timeline that's exactly pretty to time in our world.
Yeah, it follows
the
real time.
non-animated- Real time, thank you.
Yeah.
And I am going to warn you right now, we do have spoilers coming. So if you
Spoilers.
don't want spoilers, go watch another video because there will be lots and lots of spoilers. This is us warning you spoilers. Bailey, I know you'll love that. Anyway. Takes place about 6 years later, maybe 7, if it depends on 6 years.
6
6 years after the end of the first movie. In fact, there's a line in this movie about it being 6 years later, and everything's great
Until
something goes horribly wrong. It's like every Disney attraction. Anyway,
it's true.
basically, the sleeping giant of magic is woken.
Yes.
And it sets them off on this quest that really is not just a quest to discover what's wrong with the kingdom and what's going on with magic, but also where did Elsa's powers come from and who she really is. It's kind of a self-discovery story, which could have gone many different directions when you think about it, but they took a very, I think, solid direction that just about everybody's going to like. And they had a lot of really cute moments in it. So, first off, who was your favorite character in this film?
My favorite character in the film? Oh, that's hard. Olaf, I think, was a standout because I feel in the first Frozen, he was a little bit one note. And he was, and they even joke about it in the actual movie, but he's a little bit more complex. He's developed more thoughts. But I do love Anna a lot.
She developed a lot in this film too.
Yes, and I feel like she was in the beginning of this film, she was a different person that we had left at the end of Frozen, the first film. A little bit more anxiety riddled because if you think about what she went through with the first Frozen, she's
a little bit more insecure about how life could go or wouldn't go or whatever. Yeah.
But I feel like at the end of this, she's much more confident and that's
she's figured out who she is and where she's going and what needs to happen.
Well, and she doesn't need people directly around her. Because I feel like at the beginning of the film, she's voicing a little bit kind of like
she's very much relying on the people around her for everything. In fact, one of the big ongoing storylines to the whole thing, and we warned you, there's spoilers here, is there's a proposal that's trying to happen.
Yes.
Kristoff is trying to figure out the right way to pop the question. And he's not doing a fantastic job with it. And part of the reason he's not doing a great job at it at the beginning of the film is because she's so insecure that everything he says, she's taking the wrong way.
Yeah, she's turning it into
an insecure moment.
Yes.
And so it's kind of messing up with everything.
Yes.
And it's absolutely hilarious. I mean, this one, in many respects, had more humorous moments than the first one, I think. Like, there's a lot of great things in the first film, but I feel like they just went to the next level with it, especially in terms of humor in this one, which was really important because they also went to the next level in terms of darkness.
Very much so.
Like, this is a heavy film, but they balanced it with humor.
Yeah.
And
at times in the film, it didn't really feel like we were watching a
Disney
quote-unquote kids Disney movie.
Do you think it is a kids movie?
Yes. I think it
I
grapples...
don't think it's a young kid movie.
No. I was even thinking about it, because I have nieces of varying ages, currently 1, 5, and 8, and I was like, I think the 8-year-old could handle this. I don't think the 5-year-old could.
There's some...
It grapples with very dark...
heavy issues in life, death.
Well, and there's a moment specifically that I'm thinking of when Anna has lost everybody, and she literally tells the darkness, please come take me because I can't do this anymore. And I was like, well, this isn't a Disney film.
Which maybe they won't, maybe kids wouldn't understand. I don't know.
But...
let us know in the comments if you have kids, if you think this movie's appropriate for them and what age you think they're appropriate for. But, yeah, there's some really heavy moments in there. Also some really ridiculously charming, funny moments. I would say a lot of them are Olaf, but they're also Kristoff. They're also Anna. There's the reindeer. There's even, I mean, Elsa had a couple of moments too.
Yeah.
So starts off, everything's fine. Then they have to go fix it, and with this really leads them into this mystic forest.
Enchanted
forest. And it really, I'm looking forward to Cameron. I'm hoping we can get him to do a write-up in how this connects with Norse mythology.
I would love
mythology. Just because I feel like there's so many connections there, and I know some of it just because I've got family members in Norway. But and so I was picking up stuff that I remembered from my childhood because we would get different movies sent to us and trolls every year, and I have one somewhere, I don't know where.
I love that.
But there's definitely a connection there with both theming and then also some of the other things going on there. But so they go off on this adventure, and the real fear is that that Elsa will lose herself to power.
Yes.
And what really ends up happening is Elsa finds herself through power, and really digs into that. And along the way, everybody finds themselves, and that was kind of really refreshing and rewarding as a viewer, because you see them struggle. And there were definitely, like, a good movie to me always has emotional highs and lows that it takes the viewer on. I will flat out say there was nothing in this movie that surprised me. Like, I had pretty much the entire movie pegged in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I didn't actually mind
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, because it took me on a heck of a ride to get me from point A to the end of the movie, point C, or whatever you want to say. And the storytelling that they used to get us from A to C was masterfully done. I actually think it was better storytelling in some regards in this film than the first film.
I agree.
And the first film I thought was pretty solid. And even though it had maybe a more surprising moment. I don't know.
The Hans turn in Frozen, the original, and I wish that they had different names so you could differentiate which one you were talking about. But the Hans moment, I don't feel is that surprising. It is.
I wasn't surprised that he was not what he made himself out to be. I was surprised to the level of
killing, or willing to kill her.
And that it was that far. I mean, it shouldn't, because Snow White is really a dark movie when you think about it. And
so is Bambi.
And really, in that context, this film suddenly does not seem nearly as dark.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what?
But it's the last kind of act before the resolution of the original Frozen is pretty dark and pretty heavy. Yeah. This is most of the film. It's a good chunk of it. And I feel like the turning point, if I'm allowed to discuss,
let's do it,
is when they're walking through the enchanted forest and they see an Arendelle flag and they say, well, what is that doing here? And they see their parents' ship.
Yeah.
It was a gut punch moment.
Well, and it changed the entire first movie.
Yeah, completely.
I mean, in that moment, everybody, like, there were audible gasps in the theater at that moment.
Yeah.
And I actually, like, that didn't surprise me either, because I just had this feeling, I'm like, if she's exploring herself, they're going to explore the parents, which means something's going to show up.
Yes.
And it was a good moment, and then the way they took it to the next level of connecting with the parents with the watertight compartment or whatever was a little bit Columbo-ish to pull in a little bit. I was like, really, that's a little bit.
It was pretty funny.
It was, that actually
almost
might have been
too convenient.
That might have been the only kind of eyebrow-raising, almost cringe-worthy moment was just like, okay, so you needed that plot device, so you created this. Like,
every Arendelian ship has a watertight compartment.
And it was fine, but it was probably, if I had one moment, there's like, couldn't we do better than that? Or maybe we could just accidentally find this log or whatever. Like, I thought that was good. I liked how in all the previews we've seen Elsa running into the ocean and fighting the ocean. And I liked where that was placed in the movie.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of people thought that was going to be pretty early on. And it really was towards the end. And it was kind of her final quest to get through. And really that was cool too, because she had a bunch of different challenges she was facing throughout the whole movie. And that was fun to see. So the storyline, I think, gets 2 thumbs up. Awesome job.
Yes.
Great job telling the story. Let's talk about the soundtrack a little bit.
Yes.
There were some really charming songs, and it's interesting because we were talking on the way out that this film didn't have the Let It Go song.
No. Well, Into the Unknown is that
type.
It's the ballad,
it's the
heroine defining ballad. But it's not a Let It Go epic.
But Let It Go only happens once every, I don't know, few years.
It's lightning striking because it's the song and the notes, and then also inspiring children to sing it.
It's the part of your world song.
Yeah, like, very much
every generation has that one song that kind of defines that generation from a Disney film.
Yeah.
And Let It Go was that, and there isn't that song in this movie. However, there's a lot of fun songs. There's the opening song. Well, there's first the opening song, but then the first full song,
the lullaby,
was beautiful, and it actually added depth to that carried through the whole film. So it was interesting because when you hear it at the beginning, it's like, oh, that's a cute song. I know the words are important.
Yeah.
But it's not one that I can't tell you the tune of it right now. And then they go into they had also the what was the one with Anna and Olaf singing about things staying the same?
It was basically the First Time in Forever song.
Yeah, and it was cute and it was fun, and
it even had some chord progressions that were First Time in Forever.
Yeah, and that was great too. And then they started really going into, that's a good idea, pull up the soundtrack here. And
some things never change.
Some things never change. And then we get our big power ballad with Elsa singing Into the Unknown and discovering basically a new power.
I loved the way they did that song, by the way. Because again, you kind of expect it to be like a third act song because we've heard it in some trailers. And
it could have turned into that.
Yes.
If they placed it differently.
But I liked it this early. I liked it being because it's true, like, I thought it was going to be an Into the Unknown of, like, we're going into the future, like, we don't know what's happening. But it was very much, this thing calls to me, and I liked how they played the siren call into the actual song.
They played it into a lot of songs, really.
Well, they did. But I liked it specifically in this because if you take this song out of the film and you take it out of the soundtrack, it makes perfect sense. Like, her whole story is there.
Yeah, you could actually kind of gotten rid of the first half of the movie and just had that song, and you know what's happening.
Basically, yeah. It wouldn't have been good storytelling, but it does set you up.
It's one of the more solid songs in there.
I agree.
So then they start going on their adventure. You hear one of my favorite songs, which was Olaf's song, called When I Am Older.
The giant spider. I am so sorry, that spider is very big.
That's fine. When I'm Older, and this is Olaf. Focus.
I am focused.
On that.
Okay.
They're watching us. They're not caring about the spider.
I know. I'm focused.
So When I Am Older is Olaf's song of self-discovery and trying to figure out what it's like to grow older. Even though he's 6 years old, he acts like an infant in many regards.
It feels very Broadway, Top Hat and Cane. Da-da.
But ridiculously funny.
It's amazing. And
and he's defying death through the whole thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like In Summer, but In Summer, like, the songwriters are absolute genius, and I can't harp on that enough.
Yep.
But much like in the first film, In Summer's kind of this one-note song. It's, here's the thing, here it is. He has a big ending note. When I am older...
I almost like this one better.
Oh, I do.
It was really fun.
I absolutely do. Because he's grappling with his newfound maturity of age.
And he's trying to connect with other people on this as well.
Yes.
And he's just obviously missing everything. But throughout this song, he's by himself. He's lost in the woods singing this song about how he's going to figure things out when he's older, right?
It's such a positive song. Like,
he's literally almost dying every other
being
step.
Trampled and things are being thrown at him. He goes, well, this will make sense when I'm older. Like, I'll look back on this and it'll all make sense. And I love...
That's what happens to old people.
It's such an Olaf song.
Way to take it.
I love it.
So we'll skip through. There was a reprise of Reindeer Are Better People.
And it was heart-wrenching.
It was heart-wrenching, but it led into this almost rock, 90s rock. Like, it kind of reminded me of those, I don't know, guy songs of the 90s.
It was...
That was called Lost in the Wood.
It's very that plus Bet on It from High School Musical 2.
There you go. But it was a lot of those genres coming together, along with, I immediately was thinking of Am I a Man or a Muppet?
Absolutely.
Just the way it was, the story in the song was filmed and showcased, and it was ridiculously hilarious, ridiculously terrible in a good way, because
they knew what they were doing.
The reindeer all started singing and his backup singers, and it was one of the fun, like, the whole theater was erupting. It was hilarious.
Yes.
And I will say, we had a very rowdy theater.
Yes, we did.
And the great part about that is it actually made the musical portion of the movie work.
I agree.
Because you realize they actually left time for applause at the end of every song.
No, they did.
And the theater was cheering at the end of the song, and there was enough time before the next line for them to cheer, and it was great. Anyway, so Lost in the Woods, hilarious song.
It's also really funny because it's kind of tragic.
It was heartbreaking. Yeah.
Because he's, Anna's insecurities are rubbing off on Kristoff, and he's kind of thinking, well, maybe Anna doesn't love me anymore. It could have been...
And he's lost in the woods.
And
like, everything is wrong.
Could have been this terribly heart-wrenching, like, ballad where everyone's crying, but instead... They made it 90s boy band.
It was hilarious.
It was amazing.
So then Elsa gets another song that I think was also kind of an attempt to let it go, which was the Show Yourself song.
Kind of, yeah.
I didn't think it was as strong as the first song.
I thought the storytelling aspects of it
moved the
fantastic.
story along wonderfully.
Yes.
I just wasn't as pulled into the musical portion of it. I agree. I was more like...
Focused on story.
The story was good. The visuals were actually quite good, but I was more of just like, okay, let's get to the next part, and it wasn't bad. Then it turned into one of the most poignant songs in the film, which is Anna singing "The Next Right Thing."
Yes.
And that was a prevailing theme for her throughout the film, and when you basically what it is when you don't know what to do and you're lost. All you can do is the next right thing. And I think this is actually one of the best lessons to come out of this film. And I was glad they put something like that in this film. This was one of the darkest moments in the film, and it turned into one of the brightest also. I enjoyed it. I don't know that it was... I liked the message more than I liked the music for it.
Okay. I didn't love the actual composition of the song that much. That's
what I'm saying.
That might change when I re-listen to it.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was a tad too late in the movie for such a ballady type song.
It almost needed a bigger build.
It's a fantastic song.
Yeah.
The message is wonderful. Kristen Bell is delightfully talented. It just felt like it was too late in the movie for that. I don't know. And it comes after the moment, her very bleak moment of everything's gone. Why am I even trying?
I almost wondered if it was an orchestration issue. I'm not sure, but it's a decent song. And,
it is.
And actually, the message of it's fantastic. Just I don't know, the music didn't quite connect with me the way I wanted it to.
Well,
and I wanted more of an emotional pull from it than
Yeah,
I got,
I agree.
especially after we just lost Olaf, we just lost Elsa, and she's heartbroken because she thinks she's also lost
Yeah.
everything. Like, she thinks she's lost her kingdom, her love, her sister, and her snowman. and
Her sister
her reindeer.
and her snowman.
And
but I think that it moved the story along
yeah,
very nicely.
message is great. Then really that was the last main song of the film, which, now that I'm thinking about it, we were talking about how the ending was kind of short. I almost feel like it needed a big...
They did one of the chanty things.
Yeah, and that was pretty, but I almost felt like it needed to go into something more.
Yeah.
And that was the people in the woods, and I almost feel like they could have done something with the people of Arendelle or something.
What does the first Frozen end with?
I don't remember.
For the first time in forever, a breeze.
There you go.
I was just wondering, I was like, does that also, like, I was like trying to think of what the last song was in the original Frozen, and I couldn't.
So, what was your favorite, like, your top parts of the movie, and then the weaknesses you felt? Very quickly, since we're running out of time.
One of my favorite parts was the realization of the relationship to the two kingdoms, I guess you could call them. Villages, whatever it is. And they have that moment of the acceptance of Elsa, and they do their chant thing, which you realize comes from them.
Yeah, and it was really, and I think this is actually the strongest thing of this movie, and I said it the moment the movie was over, it's like, this movie tied up every loose end you didn't realize needed to be tied up in the first film, because the first film really did a great job of being a self-contained film, and this one tied up all of the loose ends we didn't even realize were loose, and created a stronger story out of the first one, while also building off of that and moving things forward.
But I felt like that was just such a beautiful moment that kind of got into the whole message of the movie of love and acceptance and all
weaknesses?
that. Weaknesses. Now that's a good... I feel like I've said something and now I suddenly don't remember. Oh, I did say, we kind of were discussing this in the car, and I think you disagree with me. I do a little bit feel like they invalidated Olaf's death by just bringing him back. I also kind of feel cheap that they froze Elsa twice in 2 movies. It makes sense. Totally makes sense. But the second she was frozen, I was like, well,
wasn't it Anna that got frozen in the first movie?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
they froze a sister.
I thought it was a good symmetry between the two. Like, the moment it's happened on, because she's actually almost in the exact same pose too.
Yes.
And so I was like, okay, that makes sense. And my actual first thought, the moment, like, oh, well, there goes Olaf.
Yeah.
And this is where we do disagree. And I actually agree with the sentiment of it. But I think the movie was so heavy that if they didn't bring Olaf back, people would have walked out of the movie sad, and also missing the bigger picture of what they were doing, you know, pulling the origin of their family, well, they're part of the family, together, and the two kingdoms together, and really what this was, and the peace and the bigger message of that. And I thought that if, I guess my only reason for bringing Olaf back, besides the end credit scene, was it really would have, you'd almost need a third movie if Olaf didn't come back. And I don't think you need that for Olaf. He's not, like, he's great, but I don't want a full Olaf movie.
No.
By bringing him back the way they did, and it was cute, because it went from the beginning of the first movie, Anna asking if you want to build a snowman. Second movie, at the end of it, I mean, they really bookended things really nicely, even with Elsa saying, do you want to build a snowman? And there was a cute moment, and you hear all these sobs going through the movie theater. It's like, oh, you hit it, that one. And they did. It was good. But, so I disagree with you. I do think, in terms of weaknesses, I felt like some of the orchestrations for the songs were not as... they weren't as smooth as they could have been. Like, it kind of felt a little bit dropped in at times where I was just like, oh, here's a song here. Was this really necessary? I don't know it is. I like the song, though. I kind of wish there was more strings or fullness to it, though, because it doesn't feel like it's completed. And usually by the end of every song, I felt like that back, and I can't even tell you which one I was thinking of in this moment.
Yeah.
But usually by the end of the song, I was like, okay, I'm all on board with this.
Yeah.
They did a great job. It just, there was some, like, it didn't have the same cohesiveness in the musical story or the musicality, and I think it was orchestrations, to be completely honest, that the first one did, where it just like flowed right into Let It Go, or it flowed right in excuse me, to You Want to Build a Snowman. And all of the songs were so were so natural in the first film.
Yeah.
That, and this could just be, my expectation was at that level for the second film. Because I really, like, we were listening to the soundtrack in the car, and I was like, I'm really liking this.
Yeah.
So I don't actually think it's a song issue, and I don't think it was actually a soundtrack issue. I think it might have just been a comparison issue as I'm speaking through this. All that to say, they didn't do a whole lot wrong in this film. Like, it's
I do love the most how the original message of Frozen, which we all saw, is an act of true love can thaw a frozen heart. And they did that to another level in this film. That was kind of the bridging of peoples, and righting the wrongs of the past can help future grow.
Well, and I think, to piggyback on what you're saying, it was the reinforcing the need for selfless love.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that's really, if you look at all of the principles, that's what they do. You know, Olaf's selfless love, Elsa's selfless love, Anna's selfless love. Like, they all kind of put themselves out there. I mean, Kristoff, I'm considering if you could make that argument, but
he fully
definitely Sven definitely did that.
No, but Kristoff does support Anna running off after her sister when he's in this moment where he's lost in the woods, and she comes back and he goes, you had to go find her.
Yes.
He doesn't
selfless love.
Yes, selfless love.
And that's where the true love comes from, and the secure love, and that's where it becomes the most powerful, and that was great. And they really did a nice job of just wrapping up the whole story with a lovely little bow and saying, Merry Christmas, everybody. Enjoy it for the next 6 weeks till Christmas comes. So, I think I give it 2 thumbs up. Like,
I give it 2 thumbs up.
I really don't have too many criticisms. I could nitpick at this thing and be like, oh, you know, the mouth movement seemed weird, which it did a couple times during some songs. I was like, huh, is that really how mouths are shaped when you sing those songs? Like, there was a couple of weird things like that. But that's nitpicking at this point. This is a enjoyable movie. It's one that I kind of want to see again.
I want to see it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be able to pause and look at some stuff too. But definitely worth seeing in the film or in the movie theaters, just because you need the big screen, I think, and the amazing sound system. But I look forward to seeing it again. I wouldn't mind if they led to some shorts again after this that continues the story on. Don't know that I need a third movie.
I don't.
I mean, I would prefer that they didn't make a third movie at this time, unless it's something like this, where they're flat out saying, hey, we have more story to tell. Yeah. And it's not just a, hey, we can make a sequel. Yeah. Threequel, whatever.
Threequel.
Another sequel.
We're doing a threequel.
Yeah. But anyway, go check this out. You'll enjoy it. We've got a review up from DC Sarah on the website, so check that out as well and see what she thought. But we hope you've enjoyed this Disney Reporter, and we hope that you'll let us know in the comments below what you thought of Frozen 2. And take a moment to subscribe to this YouTube. Also subscribe to dapsmagic.com because we'd love to connect with you there. But that's all we have for you tonight, or really early morning now.
It's really early morning.
But we look forward to seeing you in the parks, and we hope you all have a fantastic week.